right.
Hush, little baby, don't say a word. Mama's gonna buy you a mockingbird.
Hey everybody, welcome to Chin Fat. This is the third episode in the series of how to edit a short film. And in this episode specifically, we're going to be going over how to sync and merge the video footage with the audio footage. And what we've already done here is we've imported the video footage and put it in its own folder, and the audio media and put it in its own folder as well. So this is usually done if on a day-to-day basis. So this would be considered like a day's shoot right here, even though this was all shot in one day because it's a very short film. It's 2.5 minutes long essentially. So this was all shot like in a 5-hour period. But basically all the scenes that would be shot in one day, it would be synced and merged and put into scene folders for every individual day. I've got other episodes that I've done that on, but on this one we're just going to be showing it for this short film here. I'm going to double click on my video footage folder here and it'll open up that bin. And now I'm going to make sure that I'm arranged by name here, so it's in alphanumerical order, have the arrow pointing up, which will start with A's and go to Z's, so it arranges in alphanumerical order. I'm going to click on the first one here, then I'm going to hold down Shift and click on the bottom one. That's going to select everything in between. I'm going to grab the top one here, so it puts it into the timeline first. I'm going to drag it down and generate a timeline with all these clips here. And if you grab the bottom one first and drag it in, it'll put it all in reverse. So make sure you grab the top one and then drag it down into the timeline, and it'll put it in that order. All right, I'm going to go back to my project window here because I want to get that timeline and pull it out. I don't like having timelines in bins here, so I'm going to arrow this down. Let me hit minus and shrink this down a little bit so we get some more space down here. I'm going to grab this timeline here and drag it out of that folder. Now I'm going to collapse that folder. I'm going to select that timeline, hit return. I'm going to call this sync timeline. Sync timeline, there we go. I'm going to hit plus, bring the icons back up to this size. All right, so now that I've got all of my footage inside of a timeline, I'm going to start playing through this here. I'm going to go to my timeline and I'm going to press play. Press my space bar to play. And I use JKL while I'm going through the footage here, but it's taking a long time for them to slate. If you, J is rewind, K is stop, L is forward. So if I hit L and hit L several times, it'll start going faster here. While I'm in my timeline here, I'm going to hit Shift plus, increase my track height as well. I'm going to hit plus, and zoom up a little bit. And this is the plus and minus at the top of the keyboard, not on the numpad. On the top of the keyboard, if you do minus, it zooms out. If you do plus, it zooms up. And if you hit the slash above the return key, it will show your entire timeline. So plus. I'm going to hit LL a couple times just so it goes faster. LLL. Okay, there was the slate. I saw it slate. Now I hit J to rewind and get it just right before it hits. Right there. And now I'm going to arrow to the right with my arrow keys. Just arrow right like that until I get that slate. You have to do this going forward until this thing claps right there. Now that's right at the moment where that thing claps, where the slate claps. So the video was recorded separate from the audio. Like we mentioned in earlier episodes, the video has no audio to it. The camera department on a set, all they care about is recording images. They don't care a lick about sound. The only time they really care about sound is if the boom dips into the shot. And then they'll scream at the audio person and say, hey, get that boom out of my shot. And then you have a separate sound department that's usually on a sound cart that is recording the audio. And it's their job just to get audio and the camera's job just to get visuals. So while I've got that right on that marker there, I'm going to hit I for endpoint right on my timeline. That sets an endpoint right on that marker there. That way, if later on you move your playhead unintentionally, it's still going to edit to that point right there. So now if we go to our audio folder, let's double click on our audio folder and open up that bin. I'm going to double click on my first clip right here. And here's my audio clip, and I'm guessing right about here is where the slate happens here. So I'm going to move in right there. It looks like it's probably the clap. I'm going to move my playhead right to there and play through this and listen. So, okay, now mark the shot. You'll say, scene one, take one marker. And this was a bunch of students that were shooting this project. So as they're teaching them how to slate, the assistant camera eventually takes over and does this on their own. She will say the scene number and the take number right here.
Take one marker.
Take one marker.
Take one marker.
So she said, scene one, take one marker. Now so I got this before. I'm going to zoom up on this plus, and I'm a few frames before the clap there. So I'm going to arrow to the right and get it right on that frame, right where you hear the first clap. Right there. I hear that little clicky noise. I'm going to hit I for endpoint. And now that endpoint and that endpoint are going to match up, and this will be synced together. I'm going to hit the period to drop it in on my timeline. Oops, I had my source patching down on this one. Let's change that to this track right there. I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to do that again, period. There we go. I want it on this top track. Somehow I got that pushed down onto this track down here. I got my source patching down on the other one. Source patching is telling the media that's in your source monitor where to put it. So if you want it on track 1, track 2, track 3, and right now there's no video track for this, it's just audio. Otherwise, it would show a video source patch as well. All right, so I'm going to grab this. I'm going to trim it back. I like to make these the same length, essentially. This is where the audio ends. So I'm just going to hit my playhead is right here at the end. I can hit Command K, will cut through that video track. I can hit D to select that little sliver, and I'm going to hit Shift and a small delete key will ripple delete that. So it basically will delete this clip and fill that. When you delete that, it'll fill this gap as well if you hit Shift delete. So once again, hit D and then Shift delete to fill the gap. Now I'm going to press play and start going through the next clip here. So this one is now synced up, but also what you want to do is you probably want to play through it just to make sure that this is matching up. I'm going to play through it. I know there's a line the guy says right here. He says, "Thank you, honey," right here. Let's see if the lips match up. I'm going to play it.
"Thank you, honey."
Perfect match. I'm going to arrow down. It will go to the next edit. By the way, your arrows up and down will jump through these clips here. Arrow up will go to the left. Arrow down will go to the right. And we'll jump on and land on these edits here. So I'm arrowing up, going back. Let's show that while showing the whole timeline here. Arrow down goes to the right. Arrow up goes to the left. I'm going to go to the beginning of this one. Plus, play, spacebar to play. And I can hit L. And right there, it did the clap. I'm going to J to rewind. And then I'm going to arrow forward till it gets right on that point right there. So right there is a perfect point, right where that slate hits. I for endpoint. I'm going to go up here and double click on my second audio file. It loads it in the window here. And I'm guessing that little clap right there is probably the clap that matches. Let's listen.
Scene 1, take 1, mark.
She said scene 1, take 1, mark, so I think she screwed up.
Oh, scene 1, take 2?
Take 2.
So
See, then I corrected her. So the first clap though will match though, but then I correct her and I think she does a second sticks here.
Scene 1, take
toward the mic. Yell it out loud. Scene 1, take 2, marker.
Like that. So this claps twice here. Let's go to the first one right here. I think this is the one that will match up visually. Arrow to the right. Zoom up to this, plus. Right there where I hear the clap, that's perfectly right on the marker there, endpoint. And I'm going to hit period to drop it in, and it'll match it up. Let's see if that matches. Here's his line right here.
"Thank you, honey."
Oh, and that mismatched there. So there's a little bit of mistake on there. So I'm guessing that clap there might be, I'm going to delete that. Let's play through this and see what happens. Because this might have like I think there's a take where they have like 3, she does it 3 times. So there's the first one. And there was 2 of them right there. So let's go to the one where I kind of talk loudly and do it. So this will be the right one right here. And right there, we barely got it up in the corner where you see it. That's another thing with slating is like when a person becomes really good at this and a camera operator is really good at this, they understand that if the slate gets clapped out of the shot, they need to bring it into what's called second sticks. They bring the sticks back in and they do another clap. We need to be able to see that in order to match this perfectly. So right there is where it's perfect. I can see it just barely clap right there. So it was in the shot enough. So I'm going to hit I for endpoint, go to this one, double click, and I'm guessing it's this one right here.
2, marker.
Right there, I for endpoint, period to drop it in. Let's see if that syncs up. Let's see if he says his line.
"Thank you, honey."
Yep, and that matches up. Okay, so I'm going to go to the beginning of this one here, back time that a little bit, just so we can hear the number. I like to give the editor a little bit of pre-roll where you can at least hear the take. We don't want to give all of this pre-roll right here. You can if you want. You can just pull this back all the way. But see, now that previous slate should match. I just like to give them the footage that they only need right here. So I'm going to eliminate all this to the right, to the left here. I'm going to hit Q, and that will delete everything to the left. And W cleans everything to the right. So I hit Q to clean it to the left. And now we play, and it just has that marker there.
Scene 1, take 2, marker.
And now that's matched up. The audio ended here and the video kept rolling, so I'm just going to arrow down, hit Command K, and it will cut right there. And I'm going to select that by hitting the letter D and Shift, and then the small delete will ripple delete. All right, let's do this a couple more times, and then we're going to move on to the next step. So as I play through this, we got scene 1, take 3. And right there, the clap happened off screen. So I'm going to approximate this. I'm probably going to have to slide this around. After this take, the team gets a hang of it. They know what they're doing, and everything else is slated correctly after this. So this one, there's a little bit of guesswork. This is good to know as an editor, though, because sometimes you're handed footage like this, and you have to deal with it. Yeah, as an editor, I'd probably let the camera team, if they kept doing that, I'd say, hey, this is really difficult to sync this stuff up. Can you please slate this properly? And then you can give them a tip on that. But you shouldn't have to give that. If you're working with a professional camera crew, you shouldn't have to deal with that. All right, so we're going to play through this and find the approximate moment here. I'm guessing right about there is where it claps because the slate steps moving. Let's put I for endpoint. I'm going to guess, and then we'll slide this around and kind of get it to match perfectly. So I'm going to double click on the third one here, and that looks like it's probably this slate right there. Let's listen.
Do a little louder. Second sticks.
Oh, the second stick. So they do it a couple times here.
Camera rolling.
Okay.
Scene 1, take 3, marker.
Do a little louder.
So I'm just going to line it up with the second one. Let's go to the second one here.
Second sticks.
Arrow to the right. Let's zoom up to this. Right there. Zoom out. I'm going to put I for endpoint, and I'm going to go and set my different endpoint on the timeline here because she did second stick. She brought it in and then slated to get out, but didn't put it into the camera. So that one, once again, I'm going to guess. I'm going to right maybe about there. It looks like it moves. It shakes from getting hit. So I for endpoint, period to drop it in. And now let's look at the mouth. So zoom out. Let's get it right here before he says, thank you, honey.
Thank you, honey.
It's a little bit off here, so let's get that lined up.
Thank you, honey.
And it looks like the audio hits a little late there, so I'm gonna move this back a few frames. The way you can do that is as long as you have some space to move it around. There's a gap here, so I can slide this back and forth, and it won't bump into this clip. I'm going to select the clip, and I'm just going to hold down Command, and it would be Control on a PC, and I'm going to arrow to the left here. It'll nudge it one frame at a time. If you're holding down Command or Control on a PC, and you hit your arrows left and right, it will nudge. And look at this. You can see that nudge right there. I just moved it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go 5 frames and see if that matches there.
Thank you, honey.
That's pretty good there. So it was about 5 frames off. So you can adjust this. You can move it back and forth and just to see if it seems off a little bit. And that seems to be the perfect match right there. So I'm going to arrow up, go to the beginning of this. Let's trim this backwards a little bit. Just let's arrow this back. We'll trim that back all the way here.
Sound is rolling. Camera.
Because we want to be able to hear the AC, the assistant camera person, say the slate number here.
Okay.
Scene 1, take 3, marker.
So that's the right one there.
Sticks. There we go. Oh.
So good, that's matched up. I'm going to arrow down. I'm going to hit Command K. I'm going to deselect that, hit Command K to cut the video, D to select it, Shift, small delete, and let's do one more, then we'll move on. So 1A, take 1. So there's a new setup. The first setup was named Scene 1. The next, and we did 3 takes. The next setup is Scene 1A, and we do 2 takes on that. No, 3 takes. We did 3 takes, 4 takes, and then we go on to 1B, a new setup. So this is all one setup here until we got it right. It took us 4 takes. So let's just do this first one here, and then we'll move on to the next step here. So I'm going to press play, LL, K to stop, J to rewind, get it right before the slide opens up, and arrow to the right forward, get it right on the frame right there, I for endpoint. And by the way, if you want to do all shortcuts, Shift 1 will jump to your project window, and now I can arrow down and hit Shift O to open up that clip. If you want to do all shortcuts, Shift 1 to jump to this window, Shift 1, 2, 3, and 4 jumps between your windows, Shift 1 to the project window, Shift 2 to your source, Shift 3 to your timeline, Shift 4 to your program monitor. So we did Shift 1, and I arrowed up and down until I got to the clip that I wanted, and did Shift O to open it up. See, so if you're doing all shortcuts here, we can go to this window. I can hit LLL to fast forward, get it right before the clip, and let's play. I hit K to stop and press play.
Soft sticks.
Oh, let's rewind a little bit more and make sure that she says the right number, because we want to make sure that this matches up with the video. So this should be 1 alpha, take 1.
Scene 1, alpha, take 1, soft sticks.
There we go. And arrow back a little bit. Plus, plus, plus to zoom up, and arrow to the right until I hear it go. Click. I for endpoint, period to drop it into the timeline. And there you go. See, I did that without a shortcut to not putting a hand on the mouse. So I'm going to trim both those edges there, and now we've got it the same length. Anyway, all right, I'm going to go through the rest of these takes here, and I'm going to sync everything up, and then we will come back and show you the next step. Okay, everybody, welcome back. This is now done. I've got everything synced on the timeline here. And there's a few things I want to show you here, so a couple different things. First of all, let's go to this take right here. This is almost a perfect slating job right here, where you can see the slate clearly, you can see everything in it, you can read the numbers on it, and the slate is open on the beginning of the shot. We can see the entire slate when she slates here. Let's play through it.
Camera's rolling. Mark that shot.
Scene 1 alpha, take 2.
And we see a perfectly clear clack when that thing goes down there. We can see that thing perfectly clear, and we can hear it perfectly clear, so we can sync those up really, really easily. Another thing is on the timeline here. So I just wanted to show you the perfect slate there. And on the timeline, you'll notice there's let's see, 4 different takes here that do not have audio. These are called MOS. I did not need to record audio for these wide shots. It's just a pan. So you'll notice here a couple things on the slate. Here you'll notice is, first of all, they're starting with the slate closed. If they start with the slate closed, that means there is no audio on this. And also down here, they have 2 options to either circle sync or MOS. MOS basically means minus optical sound. It's an old term from the old days where they would not shoot sound when they were shot in what it was called an optical recorder. There's also kind of a joke that goes around the industry that it was like the Germans that were saying without sound, but with their accent, they'd say, we're going to shoot this without sound. So it became MOS. You'll hear that on a lot of sets. There's some arguments as to which one is more accurate. Really, if you look it up, it's just like rumors, and it's really tough to tell which one is accurate or not. So just remember that MOS just means this shot does not have sync sound that was recorded with it. So it's just the visuals, and that's it. Because that will be important when we start syncing and merging here, how we're going to organize this stuff. And then the last thing here was, first of all, for some reason, the audio when they were recording, they went from recording mono tracks to left and right for the last few tracks here. If you're shooting with one single microphone, you really only need to record what's called a mono track. A mono track is just one single audio recording, and that's it. So these are the waveforms for one single audio recording. When you're working in an editing software, right now the default for working in Premiere is a stereo environment, which means when you play back your tracks, these are mono files in here, but when you play back these tracks, they're going to play back to your left and right speaker. It'll send equal levels to your left and right speaker from a single audio track here. So watch what happens when I play this back.
Yep. Camera rolling.
Cool.
You'll see both the left and right channels popping up and down here, and they are bouncing up and down at exact levels.
Mark it.
So if you have just that one mono file, it will send back an equal amount of levels to your left and right. You can pan and mix that later on. But right now, to my left ear and my right ear on my speakers, this is playing back equal. It's just splitting that mono track and playing it to both channels since I'm editing in a stereo environment, which is 2 speakers essentially. Same with your headphones. If you have headphones, you have your left and right speaker. But for some reason, they started mixing this down to left and right tracks. If I grab one of these tracks and drag it down inside the timeline, this is what it looks like here. It basically has your left and right track. They're basically identical audio tracks that have been sent to left and right. They just happen to switch it in the recorder. So I'm a little picky, and I like to just use one of those and just have it act like a mono channel. So what I had to do to these tracks here is I basically had to select all these tracks here that were recorded in left and right, even though it used a single mic. And I right click on it, and I went to modify and go to audio channels here. And we're going to interpret this to just to play it back as a mono file, but then you tell it which one you want to use, the right or left channel. It doesn't matter because they're identical. I'm going to pull this stereo down and say this is a mono track, and then you check mark whatever one you want to use. In this instance, I'm going to use the left channel because that was the first one there. You hit OK, and after that, when you bring that down into the timeline, it will just play the left channel and play it to the left and right. It'll just use the left channel, but it will be mono, so it will play it to both the left and right channels.
Action, very slow dolly.
There we go. I did that for the last 3 takes there, and just made them mono. I noticed that when I started dragging them in the timeline that they were left and right, so I undid my action and then just redid this as mono. You don't have to do that, but it just makes me feel better to make all of the audio look the same. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my project window because this is where I want to save all the takes that I'm going to merge here. I'm going to go to my timeline. I'm going to hit home and go to the beginning. This is in the first frame, and we're going to merge this one right here. We've synced it. Now we're going to merge it. I'm going to hit the letter D. We'll select both those tracks there. I'm going to zoom up a little here, plus. And you can right-click on this track here, and with both of them selected, and go to Merge Clips. It's going to merge both of those and put it as its own individual clip over here. And I'm going to name this after the scene and take number. This is scene 1 for setup and take 1. I'm just going to say 1 space T1. I like to do all caps so it's easy to read. And I'm going to hit OK, and I put it as a synced and merged file right there. Now it says a standalone file. If you double click on this, it has both the video and it has the audio, and these things have now been combined into one clip. I'm going to go back down to my timeline, and I'm going to arrow down, and now I'm on the next one here, scene 1, take 2, and I'm going to hit the letter D to select both of these, right-click and merge, and we're going to say 1 space T2. Hit OK, and I put that one as a synced and merge. Let's show you this again. I'm going to show you a shortcut for this, because right now it does not have merge as defined as a shortcut within Premiere. I'm going to arrow down and I'm going to hit D, but I want to merge these, but I'm going to create a shortcut for it. And right now, like I said, there's no shortcut that's assigned to merge. I'm not sure why, but I'm going to go up to Premiere Pro and go to keyboard shortcuts. I'm going to type in merge, and it'll bring up merge clips, and it has no shortcut assigned to it. So I'm going to select merge clips, and go over to shortcut and click on it, and it asks, what do you want to use as a shortcut? And I like to use Command Option G because it's not being used. That would be Control Alt G on a PC if you want to assign that. The way you find out if anything is assigned, I'm going to hold down Command, and Command G is already being used for something, Command Option, and Command Option G is not being used for anything. That's grayed out. So I'm holding down Command and Option right now. Like I said, on a PC, you can do Control Alt, and it will show that there's no G assigned to that shortcut right there. If you want to find your own shortcut, you can, but I like Command Option G, and now that's assigned to merge clips right there. Command Option G, I'm holding down Command Option, and G is merge clips. So I'm going to hit OK. I've got that selected. Command Option G, there it is. Scene 1, T3. Hit OK. Hit Shift 3 to go to my timeline. Arrow down to go to the next clip. D to select. Command Option G, 1A, T1. Hit OK. Let's do one more, and then then we'll move on to the next step. So Shift 3 to the timeline, arrow down. D to select, Command Option G, and I'm going to do 1A, T2. Hit OK, and I'm going to keep doing this until I get to the end. I'll go through the rest of these, I will merge the rest of these together, and we'll come back and show you the next step. Okay, guys, so I've got all these synced now. I've got them all synced, and I've got them all merged, and they're over here in my project window. One thing I wanted to point out: if you are doing the sync and merging exercise with the exercise footage, what I want to point out is on this last take here, on the 1G take 2, 1 golf take 2, as we start, notice that it is highlighted as sync, but he's got the slate closed. Usually when the slate is closed, that's a telltale that this one has no sound. But this one does have sound, so what you had to do, he has the slate in the shot, and as we move this through here, I'm going to LLL.
Camera rolling. Okay. Mark that, Dave.
He moves the slate out of the shot, and then we say, oh, we needed to slate that. We did not do a clap on it. He thought it was without sound, so he brings it back in.
Nice and loud. Magnet's strong.
And then he does the slate properly.
Take 2. Okay.
So then he calls it out and he claps it right there. So just if you're looking for that, so you're not confused. All right. So I've synced and merged all these over here, and these have been all renamed to their proper takes and their setups. And now we've got these ones without audio. What I like to do is I keep them in the timeline, and I like it when I'm arrowing down and coming to these ones here, I will grab these and I will drag them over to the window here. Now, before I let go with my mouse, what you can do is hold down Command if you're on a Mac, Control on a PC, and keep holding that down, but let go of the mouse. And it will ask you, what do you want to rename it? Now I can let go of Command. Once it brings up that name, the rename there, I can let go of Command. And this is going to be 1E T1. I'm just doing this basically as what's called a subclip. It just renames it and puts it in your project window. There's no sound on it. I'm going to arrow down on my timeline, D to select. I'm going to grab this, drag it over, hover. Once again, hold down Command or Control on a PC. Let go of the mouse, but still holding down Command or Control. And now that the name's up, now I can let go of Command. And this is going to be 1E T2. And then we'll do that to the other ones as well. Grab it, drag it over, hold down Command, let go of Command, 1E T3, go to the next one, and 1F take 1. Drag that over, hold down Command, let go of the mouse, 1F T1, and we're done. Cool. So we've got everything from this day's footage here over here in the project window. This is basically only one scene, so all we need to do is grab all this footage. Usually you would put this in a folder called Scene 1, because this is all the footage that takes place in Scene 1. Then if you have Scene 2, you'd put all the footage in a folder called Scene 2, and so on, and everything would be organized into scene bins or scene folders. Now, I'm going to grab all this stuff here. I'm going to select the top one, hold down Shift, and select the bottom one, and I'm going to grab this and drag it down into a folder, and we'll call this Synced Footage. We could call this scene 1 if we want to. Actually, let's call this scene 1 just to stay with the proper names here in case we only have one scene for the entire movie. But like I said, if we had new like scene 2, scene 3, scene 4, we'd have each one, all those clips merged into their own folder. So we're going to call that scene 1 there. Now, I don't need this stuff anymore. I don't need my audio folder, don't need my video footage, don't need my sync timeline. Actually, the only file that I need out of my audio folder later on for a sound mix will be the baby monitor room tone footage or audio. So I'm going to grab that and drag it out, keep that, and I'm going to get rid of these folders. I don't need them anymore. I'm not going to delete them, but I'm just going to put them in. We're going to tuck them away in a miscellaneous folder. We're going to grab all this stuff here, drag it down to a new folder. I don't need the sync timeline anymore. I don't need the video footage. Everything that I need to edit is under the scene folder, 1 folder, and the audio, the room tone I need for a sound mix later on. So I'm going to grab this, and this. I'm holding down Command, by the way, to select individual items here. That would be Control on a PC. So click, click, click while I'm holding down Command or Control. Drag it to a new folder, and I'm just going to call this Miscellaneous. That's where my miscellaneous footage goes when I'm done with it. I don't need anything. We still have all that raw stuff in there if we need it. But now all I need to do the edit is my Scene 1 folder. And I'm going to actually close my sync timeline here. I don't need that anymore. It's still up here. It's still in the miscellaneous folder. But I'm going to go to Scene 1, and we're going to create a new timeline to edit in. I'm going to grab a clip, drag it down to my timeline, drop it. And now I'm going to go back to my project window here. I want to pull my timeline out of this folder. So I'm going to zoom out, minus, grab that, drag it out. And then I've got my timeline right there. And we're just going to call this, since it's only one scene, I'm going to call this Hush Little Baby Edit. There we go. And I don't need my first clip out of there. I just use that to drag into the timeline. I'm going to delete that and zoom up on that. And now I've got everything synced and merged, and I'm ready to begin editing. So I'm going to save my project, Command S. I've got everything saved there. And on the next episode, we'll start going through how to edit this project.